Would you let me die for you? Die for you, you. 'Cause I've shown you all my cards, no luck on my heart. No longer holding on, no longer holding on, no longer holding on, no longer holding on. When I get that feeling, you want me to chase you, but you never chase me. No longer giving my energy to someone so reciprocity. I ain't feeling me. No longer holding on, no longer holding on, no longer holding on, no longer holding on.
All the neuroscientists I speak with will tell you that you have no free will, in the sense that your brain has already decided what you will do next before you have any conscious awareness of it.
Yeah.
So it's your conscious awareness that makes you think you are deciding, but in fact, the neurochemistry of your brain is taking in all the information and making the next decision for you.
Yeah.
So I have no reason to doubt what they're saying. But what I would say is, if we feel like we have free will, why even care about whether we don't? If
Yeah.
the sensation is the same as having free will. So I can tell you this, all the neuroscientists I speak with.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Comment below. What's up? What's up, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me. Comment below before I get into the topic, which is free will. Free will. That is the topic today. So comment below. Say hi. Say what's up. Say anything if you like. Can you hear? Okay, good. Looks like we can hear. I'm just making sure. Can you hear? Okay, good. So, welcome everybody to Evolve 333 podcast, led by me, SharmonJarmon, multi-talented, multi-dimensional, multi-disciplinary artist. I sing, I dance, I curate, I do a lot of great things in the world. And today, specifically in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I am talking about free will. So, for Mental Health Awareness Month, so far, I've been going live on Wednesdays. I haven't made it like a specific thing or a specific day that I'm going to go live, but so far Wednesdays have been the day. So it looks like that's what's going to happen. You know, that's what it is. So today specifically, I am in the Black Room. Doo-doo-doo. Yes, I am. I'm in the Black Room, and I'm so excited to create and go live here because it's a space that I am a part of a collective. Shout out to Shibrations Collective. I am a part of the Shibrations, and through Shibrations, we are operating with the Black Room. It's a beautiful co-working space on the west side of Chicago, and here we meet up. We have rehearsals here. We do a lot of cool things. And so today specifically, I'll be podcasting today. So today's topic is free will. Free will. I grew up in a Christian background, and one of the biggest conversations I would hear during sermons, during mentorship in the Christian faith was the conversation of free will, that God allows us free will, right? And there's always been this underlying question of what exactly is free will? What does it do? What is it about? How do we know we're operating in it? Um, and so I shared that clip to start the conversation from Neil deGrasse Tyson, because he's a scientist, he's an astrologer, and he's somebody that basically uses science to make his judgments, to make logical decisions. And I'm always interested in different perspectives. So when I became an adult and I started researching and learning from different cultures, from different religions, I began to see that each culture, each religion has different perspective of free will, of human choice. And so far at this stage of my life, I've been looking at free will as basically the option as a human to use the full capacity of your mind. So when it comes to animals, animals are, according to science, don't have access or control of their conscious mind. Animals operate specifically off of what their body does. It's nature, right? It's straight animal nature. And the difference, they say, between animals and humans is that the animal, which we are as humans, we're mammals, right? We as humans are different from animals because we have access to our conscious mind. We can make decisions not just based off our physical body and the experiences we're having with our physical body, but also make decisions based off of what experiences our mind saves. Our mind is like a computer, and it collects all of this data of things we see, smell, taste, experience, feel, touch, all of that stuff. Our brain holds all of that information, and from that, it helps us create decisions. It helps us to make a choice. And a great example of this is always, to me, food. No matter who you are as a human being, you need water or you need something to drink, something to hydrate your body, and you need food in order to keep the body going. It's like a machine, right? And so, one example of choice is this choice of when you eat some food, your brain takes in the information of how it tastes, how it smelled, even how your body physically felt when you had it. And so if you're allergic to a specific food, your body reacts to that and it tells your brain, oh my God, never eat this food again because it made my body sick or it made my body, react in a negative way. And so you never eat that food again. Right? Your brain saves that information to say you're allergic to this food, never eat this food again. And the same goes for good experiences. If you eat a piece of food and your body reacts to it well, the taste is great, it feels good going into your body, so good that, man, I want to eat this all the time. Your brain remembers that. And now in your mind, I have a favorite food. I love the taste of strawberries. I love the taste of chicken tacos, whatever. So I say that to say, when it comes to the idea of the conscious mind, the mind being aware, these conversations are important when you bring up the question of what is free will, because your mind has choice. As a human being, your mind has choice. Compared to a dog, compared to a bird, compared to any other living thing, the human mind has the power of choice to use its conscious mind. And so when we talk about mental health specifically, what do we have within us that allows us free will, the power of free will? And if you're mentally ill, if you are biologically, genetically, mentally ill, do you have free will? If your brain attacks itself, attacks your thoughts, attacks your physical body, if you have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or personality disorder or depression and anxiety disorder, if you have these different types of disorders when it comes to mental health, do you actually have free will, or is it your environment that's affecting you? Does it cause you to make decisions that you don't want to make because you have this mental illness? And so I want to share a clip of this discussion that was going on with scientists. They basically were talking about free will, also featuring Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's one of my favorites when it comes to science. I'm going to share this clip, and I want you all just to see what the discussion was about, and then we'll get deeper into the question of the day, which is, do you believe we as human beings, do we have free will? Let's get into it, all right?
Free will is the sensation of making a choice. The sensation is real, but the choice seems illusory. Laws of physics determine the future. So
I had to say that.
You were compelled. It was determined from the Big Bang. What does physics have to say about free will?
Well, it's not definite because we don't fully know the laws of physics, but the laws of physics that we currently have at our disposal have no opportunity for intercession by human will, right? I mean, we are a collection of particles governed by laws that you can write down and fit on a t-shirt. And those laws don't at any point in the evolution of the particles say, hey, can you like tell me now what to do, person?
Mm-hmm.
They just determine the future based upon what things were like in the past.
But Brian, can't there be an emergent property of that collection of molecules that we can call free will? Just because the emergent property, if you know emergence, it's a feature of an ensemble that cannot be deduced by the study of the individual.
Like ants.
Like ants. You study one ant, you say, hi, ant. You'll shake your hand. You have no idea that 1,000 ants together are going to make an ant mound.
Right.
Or 1,000 termites make a termite mound.
Right.
Or that birds will flock. You have no way to predict
the idea
that.
is
That one ant sounds like Woody Allen.
If free will doesn't
Forget
exist at the level of physics, in other words, if it doesn't exist at the level of physics, could it not exist at the level of biology or say psychology?
That's right. So it's a very good point, and it really depends on what your definition of free will is, right? Normally, the intuitive definition is things could have been different, and I could have made a choice for things to turn out differently. And if that's your definition of free will, does that resonate with your perspective of free will? Then I don't see any way to square that with the laws of physics, because anything that you do is your particles executing some kind of motion, and the motion of your particles in your brain and your body have no opportunity to allow you as a conscious being to direct them. What force could possibly that direction come from? Is it the electromagnetic force? Well, that one we understand from Maxwell. Is it the gravitational force? We understand that one from Einstein. Is it the nuclear forces? Those we understand from the standard model of particle physics. What force could you possibly exert on your particles that goes against or goes beyond those that emerge from the equations of physics? That's the issue.
Could our free will thrive in the probabilistic description of quantum physics?
No. Not as we currently understand it, and that's a natural
Don't
place.
make me fight you here
Yeah,
on the stage.
we've done this before.
Yeah, we did actually. Yeah, I grabbed his lapel on stage once.
But we both were wrestlers in high school.
So that was a clip, as I mentioned, where the conversation was about free will and physics, and basically arguing, do we have that choice? Do we actually, as human beings, have the power of choice? And so our question today is free will. Do you believe you make your own choices, or are they programmed in you? Do you believe you make your own choices, or are they programmed in you? This conversation of free will, the question of free will, constantly deciphers that. It constantly breaks that down. It constantly challenges based off of science. As we continue to research the mind, as we continue to research mental health, more and more data is surfacing about the different types of mental health disorders and its effects on the human in the choices that they make. As somebody who is actively healing, actively learning, and discovering different healing methods when it comes to just overall, mental health and just well being. Before I started my healing journey, I was like always depressed, always upset, always just had this sense of anger towards the world. Like, why me? Why did I have to experience this form of life? And because I'm a Black woman, I'll center my conversation around that first, but that's not the overall point, but I'm going to use it as an example. For me, being a Black woman living in America, oftentimes my challenge that I see is the negative imagery that's shown about Black people, Black families, Black women, Black men, Black children, seeing different types of news about us, seeing how our history is always actively being erased, seeing how our culture is constantly being taken and used for marketing purposes or to elevate other cultures or other beings except ours. Like, I'm always seeing Black people struggling. That's what I see based off of the world that I live in. But does that mean that's my future? Does that mean that's what I will be? And in the past, before I learned about mental health, about the brain, about psychology, philosophy, before I learned all of these things, and I only was going based off of my environment, going based off the people around me, I did have negative thoughts about being Black. I had negative thoughts about myself because the world expected me to. The world gave me these images, gave me these sound bites, and made me believe that, hey, as a dark skinned Black girl, you're not going to be first. You're not going to be picked. You're not going to be chosen. There's always going to be somebody else before you. There's always going to be a light skinned person or a non-Black person that's chosen before you. These type of emotions and things stemmed from those types of experiences, real life experiences, going through life and going through challenges, trying to compete in things, trying to participate in teams, and not being picked not because of talent, but honestly based off how you look. And so, was that free will? Was that choice? Or was that something programmed in that person to say, hey, don't hire her or don't add her to this team because of her being Black, because of her being a woman? Were those really choices of the person, or was that choices of the society around us? So these were things I used to think. But as I expanded my thought process by reading, by looking into other options in life, other religions, other philosophies, even taking the time to really look in the mirror. When I wake up and I look in the mirror, what do I see? Do I see beauty? Do I see happiness? Do I see joy? Do I see love? Do I see sanity, even? When we talk about mental health, you hear those words like, oh, you're crazy. And that's a hurtful word. Okay. Like, when it comes to talking about mental health, mental stability, when a person is diagnosed with a mental illness, the last thing they want to hear is, oh, you're crazy. It's very triggering. It's very hurtful because if they're unaware that they are mentally ill, it feels judgmental. It feels very almost abusive in a way, to say that someone's crazy. And then if the person is diagnosed and they've had medical, doctors report to them, hey, this is what you're dealing with, and people call them crazy, it's like, hey, you don't even know me. You don't know how my brain works. You don't know what my doctor has told me that I needed in order to not be crazy, to make sure that I am sane and operating properly every single day. And so people who deal with mental illness issues, there are a lot of different factors that comes to how their brain works. Some people have to take medications every day. Some people have to go to a doctor, certain periods of their month or their week or their day. It's a lot of different things depending on the type of mental illness that you have to take place in order for you to operate well. And so if that person doesn't have medication or can't afford to buy medication or don't have any type of insurance to afford even seeing a doctor, is it wrong for them to behaving quote unquote crazy? Is that, are they out of their range of free will because they've made crazy decisions or what people may call not good decisions for their well-being? And I feel like this is where the conversation of community comes in when it comes to people that deal with mental illness issues. And I don't even want to call it issues because mental anything is a challenge. Even if you're mentally sane, even if you can operate and know the context of your mind and your body, even if you know yourself well enough and have that sense of awareness in yourself enough, everybody could use community. The human being can always use community. It's always important to have that feeling of safety around you, regardless of if you're partnered, single, have family, don't have family. You can find community anywhere. This is why people go to clubs. This is why people go to parties. This is why people go to gatherings, because nobody really wants to be alone. I mean, even if you're not a partying person and you go to a bar to have a drink, right? Because people are like, oh, I just go to the bar for a drink. I don't go to dance. I don't go to meet people. I literally just go to drink. But you can drink at home. You can take a cup, buy a bottle from a store and drink at home. You can eat at home. You can buy groceries from a grocery store and eat at home. But we as humans choose to go to restaurants, to go to bars, to go to dance clubs, to go, travel, even to go to a different country. And we make these choices. Why? Because we want community. We want to feel a connection to something, connection to something beyond ourselves, whatever that choice may be. Um, and so because of the conversation of free will we're having today, I do want to share a scripture of sorts. Like I said, I grew up in a Christian background, so I'm going to share some Christian based concepts just to get an idea and gauge of the conversation of free will today. So there is this quote that says, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. So, what does that mean to me? What do I take from that? When we talk about the conversation of free will, oftentimes people say, God told me to do this, or if God loved me, he wouldn't let these negative things happen in my life. But the God or entity or universe, whatever you choose to call a higher power, those higher powers don't make your choices for you. You, as a human being, make your own choices. Life only provides you the options. Just like we saw in the clip I shared earlier, life is all about options. And so I'll share this next quote. Let no one say he is tempted. I am being tempted by God, for God cannot, play it again, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. James 1:13-16. And again, when I see this quote, it brings up the conversation of desire, temptation. When we make choices, there's always that conversation going on in your head. And on TV, they always have like the little angel and the little devil on the shoulder, and they're always battling it out. But those conversations are real. Even though we don't have the little cartoon people on our shoulder, we have the little people in our heads, and we're battling this constant quest of, am I doing the right thing today? Did I make the right choice by eating this food? Did I make the right choice by going to this particular environment, this particular place? And um, I share that to say, when we think about mental health and we make it and us making choices, oftentimes there are certain things that affect how we mentally operate in the world. So, one example of that could be work. If you work in an environment that physically, mentally, and spiritually makes you uncomfortable, why do you still go to work every day? Most people will say, well, I have to take care of myself. I have to take care of my well being. So I go to this job every day because I need to pay bills and I need to make money. But you can make money anywhere. You don't have to work in a particular location, in a particular place. I mean, with us being in 2024, with the internet, you can pretty much go anywhere to work now. You can work remotely, you can work anywhere. So, do you have to go to that factory or line job where you're working 9 to 5 or however many hours you work to make this certain amount of money? Is that your choice? Is that something you've chosen? Or is that, was that really free will? Did you choose that? Or is that something that was presented to you and you made the choice based off what was presented to you? A lot of us are raised by our families who tell you, hey, go to work, go to school, get this degree, do these steps, and life will be right. But in my case, I did those things. I went to college, I got my degree, I got a job in the career field that I thought I loved, and I was miserable. I hated it. I hated it. And from the outside looking in, I used to be I still am in a sense, but in the past, I used to be a commercial radio producer. I used to create content and stories and operate music, with this particular station I worked for. And when I was in college, I really, really wanted that because music is something I loved. So I thought working in a radio would fulfill me because it was like, oh, I'm doing music, but I'm also doing journalism, and it's all combined with radio. And I get to meet all of these amazing celebrities that I love. And I'm in these cool spaces like concerts and clubs and parties, and I'm seeing all of these dope people, and I get to do this all the time. People that normally would do this, they can't do what I do, right? And some would say, you got it made, like you're living a life, that's perfect. But I was drinking often, every day even. I was depressed all the time. I was stressed out. I would barely get sleep because the hours that I worked were literally morning, noon, and night. So I would have a few breaks. I used to nap. Napping was life. Still is sometimes, but back then it wasn't full rest. I wasn't getting full sleep because the only way I could do my schedule was like barely sleeping. And like I had to get up at 3 in the morning to be there at 5 in the morning. And sometimes I would work nights, like again, doing club events, club appearances, and all the things. And so, yeah, it was very fast and amazing to do that experience. But once I became conscious of myself and I realized how much anxiety it created in me, how much frustration it created in me, to the point where I was self-harming, right? Drinking to cope, drinking to calm myself even, is not safe, it's not healthy, it's not conducive. And so some would say, I had the free will to not drink. I didn't have to drink. That's what some would say. But in my case, when you haven't been taught, as somebody who deals with the mental illness stigma of what depression looks like, of what anxiety looks like, nobody taught me how to cope with that. Nobody taught me how to cope with anxiety. Nobody taught me how to figure out what triggers me into depression. Nobody taught me those things. My parents didn't even know what it was. And even once I was diagnosed and I told them and they found out, they still didn't understand You know, they just looked at it like, well, you have control of your life. You can make the decision to not be depressed, and that's not true. That is not true. And I really want to break that stigma of the conversation around mental illness, I guess symptoms, and just how people react to them. And I appreciate that I'm in this time of knowledge and information, because there's been so many more doctors that have been addressing things like functional freeze. I just found out what functional freeze is, and I'll see if I can find like a quote on it, that I can share. But functional freeze is like when you're fully operating, but your energy levels aren't there to where you can be at your fullest capacity. Okay. And I'm looking at this definition now, where Forbes, which funny enough, Forbes, because Forbes is usually you see things about money, but Forbes on their site, they had an article about functional freeze, and I'll share it with you all as well. And it basically says it's a state where someone appears to be functionally normally, but is actually stuck in a state of stress, fear, or overwhelm. This can manifest when someone experiences a persistent freeze response as a result of chronic stress, trauma, or unresolved emotional issues. So just imagine, again, I'm using work as an example because I feel like that's something all of us commonly do. And if you're at work and you operate in an environment where you're never honored, you're not giving your flowers, you work really really hard, but people don't acknowledge your work. You might get gaslit even, and you're doing your best, but nobody gives you the confirmation that you're doing your best. Sometimes you can get functional freeze from that because you're stressed out about, over delivering and overachieving, and constantly in this fear space of like, does my boss see my work? Does my boss care about my work? Did I make my boss, feel proud about what I did? And there can be a sense of overwhelmment to the point where, yes, now you're functionally freezing. And a good example of that could be like, if you work really, really hard at work and you get home and you don't clean up at home, like you don't do basic things like your dishes or sweep your floor, or do your laundry, because your body and mind are so physically drained by the time you get home from work that you can't even do the basic things in your life. Or now, the hygiene conversation is something that's always weird, but because I personally have never gotten that bad. I mean, I've had moments where I've been so depressed where, yes, I have been stuck in the bed and I didn't want to wash up, eat, nothing. Those things do happen. So I can't say all depressed people don't experience that. But if you're in a state of functional freeze where you can't even wake up to bathe yourself, to honor your body, to recognize like, hey, this is who I am and I'm dealing with this, but it's okay. I'm gonna still shower, I'm gonna still brush my teeth, I'm gonna still feed myself. There are some people who do get that depressed. And I haven't been that way in a very, very long time. I had that experience in my early 20s, probably, where I was so depressed and I couldn't do anything for like a week. I was just in bed and it was terrible. But the moment I noticed, like I would say after that week, the moment I noticed that I wasn't doing anything and I was just stuck, I instantly, something in me was like, I need to find something that's going to help me get out of this space, this space. So I started looking up books and different motivational and positive books about healing and about self-determination, just self-confidence, self-love. I started looking up books about that. Then I started looking at spaces that inspired positive feeling and positive connection. So I was looking at like yoga and working out and Tai Chi. I found like this Tai Chi class on Groupon. And I just found just different things that allowed me to move my energy, to move the negativity that I was feeling. And because of this, I even found my first crystal. The first time I went to do yoga. Funny enough, it was hot yoga. I never did hot yoga before. And at the time when I did it, oh my God, it literally was like the most elevating experience I've ever had. Honestly, it really was. When you've been so depressed like that, and then you go into a space that moves that energy, and with hot yoga, like you literally have to focus because you don't want to pass out for one. So it was like I literally felt it felt like a big hug, honestly. Like going to hot yoga was like feeling this hug from the universe and feeling this positive energy of like I could do better. I could do better with myself. And after that class, there was a crystal shop next door, and I went to the crystal shop and I found a rose quartz crystal. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. So I just was like something was grabbed, pulling me towards it. I picked it up and like again, it was just this feeling I had. It was like, oh, this feels like love. I feel love holding this crystal. And I asked the lady at the shop, the lady at the register, what this meant, and she said, the rose quartz represents unconditional love, and most people who gravitate to this crystal in the moment are not experiencing that, and they need that energy. And when you get a crystal, it gravitates towards the energy that you need the most. And of course, you charge it. It's different ways to charge crystals, and so from that moment on, I knew that after that feeling of hot yoga and that feeling of having the crystal, I just was like, this is a feeling I never want to lose. Whether I'm alone, whether I'm with a person, whether I'm, you know, this was before I was a mom even. So now I'm a mom, but like back then when I wasn't, I didn't have to give my energy or love to another person and another human being. Um, it was really important for me at that time to learn the feeling of self-love. And so keeping it focused on the topic again is, do you believe you make your own choices or are they programmed in you? And if you talk about environment, if you talk about, you know, genetics and all of the things that make up who we are, I want you to know that when it comes to mental health, just because you are diagnosed with something does not mean you do not have free will. It doesn't mean that you don't have that choice. And you don't have to self sabotage. You don't have to self sabotage. You don't have to allow the stigmas and the things that doctors say or people say, even, the internet can be very, very brutal. The comments that people make can be very harsh. And you don't have to get stuck there. You don't have to allow yourself to get stuck in this space of, well, I've been diagnosed with this, so that means, I'm gonna have a horrible life. No, it doesn't. There are a lot of people who are diagnosed with different mental illnesses that turn out to be the most genius people, the most successful people, the most artistic people, even. Um, and in my case, like being an artist, it took a lot to learn what I needed, what I needed to overcome depression, overcome overcome anxiety. Now I prepare myself more when it comes to things that make me anxious. For example, like having shows. Preparing for a show can be so scary. Like, in my case, getting costuming together, rehearsing for it, making sure that the theater knows everything that I need to perform well, to be at my best when I'm on stage. It's so many levels and layers to being a great artist and performer. And I'm grateful that it took me a while, but now I'm like, if I have a show, I'm literally prepping the full week of that show, not just the day of or the day before, but like months even, as far as like rehearsals, like I'm rehearsing months and months at a time before I even do that performance. And then the week of, I try to make sure I'm eating even better. You know, I feel like I eat well for the most part, but I have my moments. I have my moments where stress comes and I eat whatever. But for the most part, I try to make sure I'm getting my vitamins. I'm making sure I get my fruits and vegetables and water, and really, really trying to love on myself, give myself all of the energy possible to bring the ultimate best performance that I can for people that are coming to see me, for audiences that are coming to watch me. I try my fullest to do my best on that. And so with that being said, you know, you do not have to allow things to stop you from going for that dream or going for that vision you see in your head. If you are a scientist and in your mind you have this idea or of an equation or a function of things, write it down, make it great, manifest it until you really physically see it, until you see it will itself to life. You know, that's what, to me, that's what the free will means. It's like it's a force. It's a force within you, a free force. Nobody's controlling your force, not even God. Like the scripture I share with you, I'll share it again. Nobody's controlling your force, guys. Nobody's controlling your force. All right? You have your own power. You have your own power. And so as you wake up in the world and see yourself in the world, please remember that. Please remember that you have your own power. And whether you believe in God, whatever you believe in, you have your own unique power every single time. Every single time you wake up and you have that breath inside of you, you make the ultimate choice about what you eat, about what you receive, about what you consume. You know, if you struggle with confidence, self confidence, don't watch things that make you feel insecure. Watch things that motivate you. Watch things that encourage you. Watch things that will inspire you to go more and harder into the dream and the goal that you want. Follow people that do things that you want to do, and research their methods, because everything that you see, somebody prepared themselves to do that thing. You know, me even just being on this computer talking to you, I woke up with the choice to say, I want to share with you all today about something important. You have the freedom in your soul, in your being, every time you breathe, every time you take in a breath. That is your power right there. The fact that you are healthy enough to wake up, to breathe, to do things on your own, even if you don't do things on your own, right? The Mexican painter Frida, she was bedridden most of her life because of her being crippled and the condition that she had that didn't allow her to walk. Like she physically had to lay in a bed, and instead of just giving up on life and saying, "Oh, I'm disabled, I'm not gonna be able to do all of my dreams," her one of her passions was painting, and she decided to paint even in her bed, to the point where she had the staff create, and I believe it was her husband at the time, created this specific like structure where it allowed her to paint on the canvas, laying in bed. And so when you're really determined about something, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And the only thing stopping you, even if you're dealing with mental health issues, whether you're dealing with depression, anxiety, any type of disorders, those things come and go. They don't stay. They don't stay, and you don't have to allow that to control you. Even if you're having an episode, get through your episode. It happens, things trigger us. So you're going to have episodes. That's a part of our lives. That's a part of the life of being a human being. But you still have the conscious choice and decision to be stuck there, be stagnant there, or to move forward, to move through life, to push through. And I'll leave that with you to get to see. And I hope that you believe in yourself enough that you are your free will. You are your free will, no matter what religion, no matter what race, no matter what sexuality, no matter what you define yourself to be. You have the power inside of you to make all of the choices that you want to make, to create all of the things you want to create, to do all of the things that you want to do. Okay? So don't ever give up on yourself. Don't lose faith in yourself. When things get hard, it's okay to pause. I know the functional freeze exists, but don't stay there. Don't stay frozen. Don't stay frozen. Warm yourself up. And if you don't know how to warm yourself up, go for a walk. If you don't want to work out, just go for a walk. Literally, just go outside and walk. You'll be surprised how a 5-minute walk can simply change your whole mood. Don't want to walk? Take some deep breaths. Go sit down in a chair or lay down and take a few deep breaths. Sometimes we just need to breathe. We just need to take a deep breath and just, you know, like really release your air. Sometimes you need that. It's okay. Um, so with that being said, I don't want to keep you all long. I'm going to wrap it on up. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up. But I do appreciate you if you were streaming today. And again, the discussion, questions, and everything we talked about in this conversation will be on my website and on my Facebook page. So again, the question was, do you believe you make your own choices, or are you programmed? Are they programmed? Okay. And so you can go on our Facebook, Evolve Pop Up, okay, at Evolve Pop Up, and also Instagram at Evolve Pop Up. Make sure you're following us and all of the things. For those who are interested, I do have some cool shows coming up. So be sure to check me out, as well as Body Confidence for Queens. We will be at Steppenwolf for 2 days, Friday night, May 24th, and Saturday, May 24th. Make sure you check us out at Steppenwolf. The tickets are online on my pages, on my website, all of the things. So make sure you're there, okay? And then also, just be sure to come to my show the next day, the 26th, which is a Sunday. It's called Witness Me in the Thunderdome, and it's a Mad Max themed burlesque show, which I'm super excited about that. That's going to be fire. All right. So thank you all for tuning in. If you have questions, hit me up at Evolve Pop-Up, DM, message, whatever you want to do. And you can find all of these discussions and these video clips in our Facebook. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. I had a great time, and no matter what, always believe that you are not operating in a spirit of fear, but you're operating through love, sound mind, okay? Not fear. No fear. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Be in love and be in a sound mind, all right? Be safe. I will see you all next time. That we out.